Well, hello, YouTube. It's your boy Uncle Fred once again coming to you, and we just want to give you results of our week 6. And once again, it was just a great week in the NFL, and I mean, it just don't get no better than that. NFL is just the best thing going in the world of sports. I know the NBA is starting to crank up. And we might do a few videos on the NBA and stuff like that. And I saw watched the Lakers go up in flames last night to my Dubs, and yeah, I roll with the Golden State Warriors too. So I might give you some videos on that on NBA as the time goes on. Um, and the Philadelphia 76ers, I roll with them too. And but that's not what this video is for. Our video tonight is for the results of our week 6 pick'ems to see how your boy did, and then we're gonna go ahead and then we're gonna talk about about a handful of games and things that I saw, interesting things that I saw in the week 6 games, and then also we're just gonna move into week 7 predictions. I got predictions for week 7. So yeah, your boy Uncle Fred. We did not too bad. We didn't do as good as we did the previous week. I think we went 12-4 the previous week, and and of course now we only had 12, 14 games this week. And there were 4 teams. There was San Francisco, there was Atlanta, there was New Orleans, and the Jets. Those 4 teams did not play this past week, so you only had 14 games. And your boy went 9-5. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Not bad at all. The 5 games I missed the Chargers at Baltimore. We'll talk about that game. I missed Tampa Bay at Philadelphia. We've already talked about that one. I missed Arizona Cardinals at Cleveland. We'll talk about that game. I missed the Las Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos. Talk a little bit about that game. We missed on the Buffalo at Tennessee. Kind of not upset that I missed out on that one. Okay, so those are the 5 games that I missed. Okay, this week. All right. So, as I said, this was a good week. It wasn't as exciting as last week. With the Cleveland and Los Angeles Chargers and the Baltimore and Indianapolis and then the Green Bay and Cincinnati with the 5 field goals missed in the last 2. All that stuff. It was some crazy stuff, but there was some things that went on this week too. But it's always something that you see. You're like, man, that's the NFL just don't get no better. But anyway, let's talk about a few of these games and things that I saw. And we're gonna move right on into our pick'ems for week 7. And I promise not to be with you long. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment, leave a suggestion. We can do better. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to give you a good product, trying to give you some good content, and go entertain you a little bit too in the process. But anyway, first game we're gonna look at is Cleveland at Arizona, and I had Cleveland winning that one because I thought Cleveland, with their running game, and I thought, and see, at the time I didn't know Nick Chubb was going to be out, and I thought that they would have come in and established the run and run it down their throats and stuff of that nature, but that didn't happen. Matter of fact, and I did not know that that your boy was going to get hurt and everything. So anyhow, Cleveland Arizona rolls into Cleveland, and plus Cleveland's playing at home. And so I'm like, yeah, they come east. There's a couple of teams that went from west and came east. Most times that don't work out too well, but Arizona just came and dominated. I mean, 7-0. Then it was 14-0. Then it was 17-0. Then it was 23-0. And then if it wasn't, then it was 23-7. And then right before halftime, Baker Mayfield hung up a Hail Mary to Donovan Peoples-Jones and made it 23-14, and they didn't score again. I mean, also what we learned in this game too is that, and what is becoming painfully obvious about the Cleveland Browns, talented as they are limited by their quarterback's dynamics. Now, if you got Chubb and Hunt running the ball with their league-leading rushing attack, then they're going to do fine. But I already said that, and see, I didn't know it before kick, and actually I found out about it, maybe a day or two after I did my pick'ems, that Nick Chubb was going to be out with a calf injury. Because if I'd known he'd have been out with a calf injury, I would have picked Arizona because I was looking for them to be at 100%. But then about around the third quarter, Kareem Hunt goes out with a calf injury, so they're without either of those guys. Excuse me. So that's kind of what it was. Baker tried to do, what he did. I think he threw for like 200 and I think he threw for like 240 yards and maybe one touchdown. I think he threw an interception. He had a costly fumble in the fourth quarter where he was trying to catch up, but I mean, they were never in that game, and really, Arizona really didn't wow them. I mean, they dominated, but it was just like they just steady, and they just won. They just, they were just clearly the better team. I think A.J. Green led them in receiving. I think he had like 97 yards and a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he had 5 catches for 79 yards and a touchdown. And so, yeah, they really wasn't much to say about that. It was a game that was billed to be, two of the better teams in the NFL. Cleveland based on the roster that they're bringing forth, and Arizona based on their record. And Arizona moves to 6-0. And, hey, Cleveland goes to 3-3, and then they got real problems there because Baker Mayfield went down in the game and re-injured his labium on his non-throwing left shoulder. And what we've also found out is as of right now, he's been ruled out for the game Thursday night. And we're going to have a pick 'em on that too. So Cleveland's in a bad way. I mean, they're missing both of their running backs. They're going to be missing Baker Mayfield. The only positive is that they will be having possibly Jarvis Landry coming back to play, and the quarterback is going to be Case Keenum. So we'll talk about that, but that's next week. But yeah, they lost this game. They were never in this game, and they never scored again after that Hail Mary at the end of the first quarter, end of the first half. They never scored again. So. So there is that. Cleveland goes down 37-14. I mean, we weren't even that close. Second, the LA Chargers at the Baltimore Ravens. And this is a game where, and there's a theory I'm going to share with you about this particular game and what my guess is on this game, because all the games I've seen up until now, I keep on calling them San Diego. The Los Angeles Chargers have been like one of the more explosive teams in the NFL. I mean, they've got a good offensive line. Justin Herbert is arguably one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league. They got probably the best or second or third best wide receiver group in the NFL with Big Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and Jared Cook. And then you got Austin Eckler coming out of the backfield, who's really a pass receiving running back in the mold of Alvin Kamara, because Joe Brady is the offensive coordinator of them. So that's kind of why he kind of got that going. He used to be in New Orleans. So I thought they would go into Baltimore, and I said, man, they're just going to have, and I saw how Baltimore's defense looked against the Indianapolis Colts, and Carson Wentz was just carving them up. I think he had 402 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was just carving them up. And I'm thinking, I mean, if Carson Wentz is carving you up like that, man, Justin Herbert with those receivers he got, I mean, it is off receivers are decent. I mean, Mike Pittman and Pascal, and I mean they're okay. And Jonathan Taylor coming out of the backfield, they're okay. But what the Chargers got on the table, I thought they would be too much. But what I found out, man, as I was watching that game, that somebody had to call the Los Angeles and see their team was missing. See what they've done with their football team, because that wasn't the Chargers I've been seeing all week. I mean, Justin Herbert looked like he was off. He was missing throws. I think he threw an interception. I think he threw 1 touchdown. They only scored 1 touchdown to Jared Cook. They just looked totally out of it. And to be honest, Justin Herbert, he was 22 for 39 for 195 yards. I mean, what are you going to do with that? 1 touchdown. Heck, Herbert was to show you how off their offense was. Now, remember, they tallied up 500 and some yards against the Cleveland Browns the week before. All right. And Justin Herbert also led them in rushing. I think he had 2 attempts for 12 yards. I think Austin Eckler had 7. Okay. As a group, the Los Angeles Chargers had 208 yards of total offense. Let yourself marinate on that for a minute. 208 yards of total offense. Okay. That's how inept they were. And then Brandon Staley kept going for 4th downs, and they kept not getting it, kept giving Baltimore short fields. And I know that's how they've been doing. They've been very uber aggressive, going for 4th downs. They did it a couple times against Cleveland. One of them resulting in a pass interference that really wasn't. And which saved them in that game. But they go for a lot of. I think they lead the NFL in how many 4th down attempts they go for. And 208 yards total offense. And I have a theory, and you might think, and see what I was also thinking, that Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore offense was just going to run it up and down the field against the Chargers, because the Chargers are ranked near the bottom in the league in rushing defense. Okay, so I thought that, and if you can't stop the run, because like I said, the Cowboys ran for 200 yards against them, Cleveland ran for 200 yards against them. I'm like, the Cowboys and Cleveland run for 200 against you, what the heck Baltimore going to do? Now, I know they don't have their normal fleet of running backs. J.K. Dobbins is out. Gus Edwards is out. They both got season-ending knee injuries. So they got Devontae Freeman and Latavius Murray. And there was also you do know there was what is his name? He used to play for Pittsburgh. His name just escaped me. And he actually scored a touchdown. Bell. Le'Veon Bell. That's his name. Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell was a Le'Veon Bell sighting, But Lamar Jackson didn't even have a great game. I mean, he was 19 to 27, 167 yards, had 2 interceptions and 1 touchdown, and they still won 34-6. Now, my theory is, and there's always been and it goes when you got young teams like this, and I think it kind of works. When you got veteran teams, I've seen them overcome it. Okay, which in the game we're gonna talk about afterwards. We'll see a team that overcame it. Most of the time in the NFL, when you got a West Coast team traveling east to the East Coast to play a game at the 12 o'clock time slot, you never usually get the best of that West Coast team, because you have to understand the time lapse and the time, the jet lag and the time lapse. because factor this in. You know, you're on the West Coast and you're going back east, okay, and you're going back 3 time zones, okay. You're going from the Pacific to the Mountain through the Central to the Eastern time zone, okay. So you're leaving at, you know, and you're gaining like 3 hours. So when they're playing the game, it's like they're playing the game at like 9-10 o'clock in the morning. That's what their body clocks are like. So a lot of times you don't get the best team effort when those teams do that, especially when it comes to young teams. Now, when you get some veteran teams, you know, that do that, you know, they kind of, because I've seen Seattle, you know, go east and play. The Jets go east and play. Baltimore go east and play. You know, New England go east and play and do well, you know, because you got Russell Wilson, and, you know, that's a veteran team. You know, they're used to that. But Justin Herbert's in his second year, and some of them other guys, their second and third years. They're young. They're, you know, that. So when they go on these eastern road trips, you know, especially at the you know 1 o'clock, which is you know time slot, it just don't work out well. Okay, now, you know, when they go east, you know, and they play at the 3 o'clock time zone or 4 o'clock time zone slot, then it tends to be different. But all I know that wasn't the same Los Angeles Chargers team that I've been seeing for the past few weeks. But Baltimore wins it convincingly, 34-6, and the Chargers fall to 4-2. Baltimore leading the AFC at 5-1, and they're, you know, looking better each week. Another thing with Baltimore, you know, they first time this week. They had Rashad Bateman, and that's the guy they drafted in this past draft. He's like 6'2", 6'3", about 215, 220 pounds. Great hands, runs every route in the route tree, got speed. He's going to complement Hollywood Brown on the other side. And then you got Mark Andrews going down the slot. You got Devontae Freeman, who's a great pass-catching running back coming out of the backfield. Baltimore's got some weapons now. So as Lamar evolves into, you know, a down the field passer, which he's starting to do more and more, man, he's got some weapons now, man. He's got some weapons. And so look out for Baltimore, man. Good luck stopping them. Their defense has improved. I mean, you held this high-flying team to 208 yards. I mean, they was all over them. They were never even in that game. So Baltimore goes to 5-1 and leading the AFC, and you know, got people going to be having to worry about. You got a way to play Baltimore, you know. So the next game we're going to talk about. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it because it was a blowout, but the Los Angeles Rams travel to the New York Giants, and again, we got our West Coast team traveling to the Eastern time zone at the 1 o'clock time zone. But again, this is a veteran team. You got Matthew Stafford, you know, who's been in the league like 10, 12 years, okay? And so, you know, those guys, the veterans, know how to, you know, take care of their bodies, know how to get their proper rest, and know when you take these trips and you cross some time zone, how to, you know, how to take care of yourself. But Giants won that. I mean, the Rams won that game 38-11. And Giants was never in that game. The only reason I brought this game up is because the Rams scored 28 points in the second quarter of this game, because it was like 7-3 in like the first quarter. And the next thing I know it was 10-3, then it was 17-3. I mean, not 10-3. It was 14-3, then 21-3, and then 28-3. And so, you know, they scored 28 points. You'd be hard pressed to even possess the ball 4 times in a quarter, let alone score 4 touchdowns. Okay, but and part of the reason for that is my man Daniel Jones, man. I mean, he was 29 of 51 for 247 yards. I think he had 1 touchdown, but he had 3 interceptions and a lost fumble. And now he had really started to clean his act up a little bit, but. And I'm wondering in this game too, I got a theory. You know, Uncle Fred got a theory about everything. I'm wondering if really, because I really didn't think Daniel Jones would play because he had a concussion before. And really, it's very hard to overcome the concussion protocols in today's times. In order, back in the day, guys got their bell rung, they went in and back in a couple of plays. I'm good, coach, put me back in. And they put me back. But then when they started to take concussions more seriously, and when a guy would get hurt like that, they would hide your helmet. And you'd be wanting to get in, but everybody got their own individual helmet. You can't find your helmet, you can't play. So they'd hide your helmet, so you couldn't play. And so, in my game analysis, I said, well, I thought this game would be a blowout. I said, they're going to win this one going away because he's going to be playing Mike Leonard. But I heard about midway through the week that Daniel Jones was going to play. And I was like, man, that dude could barely walk in the game when they played the Cowboys. When he got up, he was staggering all over the field. Couldn't even walk for his own sideline without assistance. So now you're going to tell me he's going to be able to play the next week. He went through all of the drills and stuff. So I'm wondering if he was suffering from some of that, because he shouldn't have been playing. He had a terrible game. And, a lot of the whispers came after this game and said, hey, man, do they need to draft him a quarterback? Because it's apparent that this ain't the guy. But I think that's kind of unfair because he was actually trending towards playing very well, kind of well, as the season kind of went along. Their thing was they had a bunch of guys injured. I mean, when they played the Cowboys, they was basically playing like their practice squad. They had, thank God for Kadarius Toney, because Shepard was out, Slayton was out, and Golladay went down in the second quarter. Saquon went out. I mean, goodness. I mean, what are you going to do with that? So, but anyway, they get their doors blown off in that game. That daggum Cooper Kupp. That daggum Cooper Kupp, 9 catches, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Dude can't be covered, man. And they kind of took it easy on him in the second half because they only scored like 10 points in the second half, and kind of took it easy on them. And but anyhow, Rams win that 38-11. So that's the third game we'll talk about. Next game, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but I just thought there was a couple things in this game that kind of stuck out to me. That's the Green Bay and Chicago Bears. And the only reason I'm talking about that game is because of, we know that Justin Fields is starting like his third, fourth game. And really he's just kind of feeling his way around and whatnot. And we know Green Bay is maybe one of the elite teams in the NFC, along with the Cowboys, the Cardinals, and the Rams, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's one of the elite teams. So really, you really didn't. And I looked at all the experts. Nobody had Green Bay. Had the Bears beating Green Bay. So that was a thing that happened in that game. And the game was pretty much close. It was fourth quarter. It was 17-14. Bears was hanging with them. Justin Fields, he had a pretty decent game. He wasn't terrible. He was, he threw for 174 yards and a touchdown, and he had one interception. But the interception, really, the guy jumped offside. They didn't call it. It was clearly he jumped offside. And he thought he had a free play, and they didn't, But anyway, late in the game, Green Bay was in the red zone, and Rodgers is back to pass, couldn't find nobody. I think it was like 12 yards out, and he's scampering into the right side of the end zone for a touchdown, and he went off into the, down the tunnel. And apparently somebody in the Bears crowd, according to him, double burden him. So when you hear the feed of that game, you hear him screaming at him, "I own you! I still effing own you! I still own you!" And I'm like, Aaron, you barely beat a Bears team that's really struggling offensively. Why are you pumping your chest at them? Just go get your touchdown, celebrate with your teammates, go on over to the sideline. You might call me old school or whatever, but I'm like, dude, it's the Bears, okay? They have probably one of the most anemic offenses in the NFL. Okay. The only reason they're staying in games because Justin Fields, gives them a little spark, and they have a great defense, with Mack and Akeem Hicks and those guys, and Robert Quinn, and those guys, and Eddie Jackson. And so, I mean, that's the only reason that they're in games and stuff. And so, really, you know what I would like to say. I would like to say, who's saying that same thing to Aaron Rodgers? NFC Championship games, NFC Championship games are saying to Aaron Rodgers, "I own you. I still own you. I still own you," because he's 1-4 in NFC Championship games. Okay, all right. Tom Brady has as many NFC Championship game wins as you do. Okay, and he just got there. So check yourself, Aaron. I know you're a bad boy and all that, but yeah, that was beneath you. And anyway, Packers won 24-14. I predicted them to win, but that just kind of got in my crawl with. I said, Aaron, shut up, man. You really on the Bears now? Because I mean, don't get me wrong. He's 22-5 against the Bears. I mean, he really has, been able to do. But they've had better teams than the Bears over the years. Bears have been to the playoffs like 4 times in the last like 15 years. Okay, and but they've been to the Super Bowl as many times as Green Bay. So they went in 2006. They went in 10. They ain't been back. Bears ain't been back either. So, but anyway, yeah, the NFC Championship games are screaming at you, Aaron. I own you because you 1-4. Okay. Anyway, next game, Las Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos. And this one, you remember when I talked about this one, I kind of thought that this one could go one or two ways because of the ordeal with John Gruden. Maybe, depending on what kind of relationship those players have with Gruden, because I know that, Derek Carr kind of, always tried to seem like he was vying for Gruden's affections. Like every time he do something, he would seem like he'd go to the sideline like, can I get a hug now? Am I good now? And Gruden like, yeah, go on. And so he was always looked like he was fishing for affection from John Gruden or approval from John Gruden, and it always seemed like he was always trying to get another quarterback to supplant Derek Carr. But I don't know about how any of the others felt about him. So I thought that either if he left and they kind of felt strongly about him, they might play lethargic and play like like they did when they played the Bears last week. They kind of played like they weren't in the game. Or I thought maybe they play like, man, this has been lifted off. I'm glad this whole ordeal is over. Now we can get down to football. And that was the answer. They played like they, wanted to play football. Okay. Derek Carr, had a great game. Threw for 300 and I think he threw for like 341 yards and 2 touchdowns on 19 of 27. Okay. And it was 4 touchdowns scored in this game. And I'm giving. I know you guys get tired of me touting University of Alabama and the Crimson Tide. I know y'all get tired of me doing it, but all 4 touchdowns were scored by Crimson Tiders. All 4. Okay. Kenyon Drake had a touchdown run and a touchdown reception. Okay. Josh Jacobs had a touchdown running. Rushing, and Henry Ruggs had a touchdown reception. All 4 touchdowns scored by Alabama Crimson Tide alums. So roll Tide, baby, roll Tide. But anyway, I thought that they played inspired football. They tallied up 426 yards of offense. Against a good defense. And Denver kind of disappointed me. They're 3-3 now. They were 3-0, but they had played the Jets, the Giants, and the Jaguars. Of course you're 3-0. Then they lost to Pittsburgh. Then they lost to Baltimore. Well, I think it's Baltimore first. Talked to Baltimore, then Pittsburgh, and then they lost this game to the Raiders. So then they're 3-3. And looking to the game to tomorrow night, which we're going to pick against the Browns. But Teddy Bridgewater was uncharacteristic. Teddy, my man Shannon Sharp calls him Teddy Bicycle. But Teddy Bridgewater, who's normally one of your more security blanket quarterbacks. I mean, he was 35 for 49, which that's a lot of throws for Teddy Bridgewater. 49 catches. 49 throws. He was 35 for 49 for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he also had 3 interceptions and a lost fumble. Okay. He did a Daniel Jones. He had 3 picks and a lost fumble. Might be one of the worst games Teddy Bridgewater has played. He got some good production in other places. I think Noah Fant had 9 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. And they tallied 421 yards of offense. So they were moving the football, but they kept turning the football over. So that was a very uncharacteristic game by Teddy Bridgewater. You always look at him as a guy that, he don't take a lot of chances. He takes care of the football. Don't put the defense in harm's way. Don't put the offense, I should say, in harm's way. And don't put the defense on short fields because you can throw in. But he threw 3 picks. But yeah, I was real impressed with the Raiders. That's the Raiders we saw the first 3 games of the season. Offense explosive, Derek Carr throwing it all over the yard. Defense playing, inspired, football, getting good pressure on the quarterback, and they played a great game. So the Raiders, who knows? The Raiders may be on their way to challenging. Because I thought when this all happened, I thought the bottom was going to fall out of their season. But like I always say, it ain't how many times you fall, it's how you get up. It's how you respond to stuff that happens to you. The Raiders, that's a great win by the Raiders, and and they move on. They're 4-2, and so they move on. And Denver, they moved down to 3-3, and which becomes a must win for them against the Browns, a very beat up Browns team that they'll be playing tomorrow night. And there's been whispers about Vic Fangio's job security. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that. Next, we're going to talk about the just a couple of things on this one. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Washington football team. Kansas City won 31-13. But again, Patrick Mahomes. Some of the same things that has happened to him all season. He threw 2 more picks. One of the picks, it was a bad snap, and I think it was 3rd down. And instead of just throwing the ball away, or just falling on the ball or whatever, he's going to try to throw it, almost laying down on the ground, and it got picked. Like, come on, Patrick, what are you doing? Stop with the cutesy pie stuff. Let's play football. And then they were in the red zone, and he threw another one on a little what I call arrow route to Tyreek, where he goes in and goes back to the sideline. Patrick put it right on there, tipped it in the air, and he got picked, just like the one he did last week against the Buffalo Bills, which prompted, I think that was his mom, to tweet, that one shouldn't go on the quarterback. When you put it on somebody, that should go on the receiver. And I'm like, Mom. Is it his mom or his wife? I think that was his mom. But yeah, you kind of got to stay out of that stuff, man. That's not. Anytime family members of professional players are talking and are chiming in about what's going on, like Giselle telling the media and telling people that Brady can't catch the ball himself. I think it was directed at Wes Walker in Super Bowl of 2011 when he missed the pass they could have won that game, but he missed the pass over the middle down the stretch. And I just never liked that when you got family members chiming in on play and stuff like that. Really, you really supposed to be seen and not heard. Now, I didn't like that. But Patrick Mahomes is not playing well. He's got 8 interceptions right now. He's got 17 touchdowns, 17 or 18 touchdowns. But he's got 8 interceptions. Leading the league, among the league leaders in interceptions, So, there's some theories about that too. Some believe that, helter-skelter style that he plays with, that, Brett Favre-ish kind of, gunslinger mentality that he plays with has started to catch up with him. Or could it be that he feels that he has to take more chances because he knows his defense isn't going to stop anybody? And they played pretty well Sunday. They only gave up 13 points, but we do know that the Washington football team is not one of the more prolific offenses. I think Taylor Heineke threw for like 182 yards on 39 pass attempts. And, McKissick ran 8 times for 45 yards and had 8 catches for 65 yards. I mean, nothing really I don't know what Terry McLaurin's probably one of the up-and-coming receivers in the league. He didn't really do that much. So they're not really prolific, but, that's something to keep an eye on. They win this one. They move to 3-3, but there's something going on there with that because he's not as efficient as he once was. I think he only threw 11 interceptions over the past 2 seasons. Now, he's already thrown 8 in 6 games. So he's on pace to throw like 22 interceptions. Now he's on pace to throw for like 52, 53 touchdowns. But, 20 interceptions is a lot of interceptions. I mean, you still got a long way to go to catch up with my boy Jameis with 31. But anyway, that's something just to keep an eye on that game. That's all I want to talk about. Then we're moving on. But the Chiefs win 31-13, and they move to 4-2. Washington football team is 3-3, 3-3. Okay. And then this just a couple more games. Seattle at Pittsburgh, and really the only thing about this game. Remember, each week I talk about something in the game of something I saw that I thought I would never see again. And the NFL always gives you something that you thought you'd never see. So anyway, early in the game, Pittsburgh was dominating. Roethlisberger was looking pretty good in that game. I think he had like 229 yards and a touchdown. And my man Najee Harris 81 yards and a touchdown. And he's starting to find his stride. So they was leading 14-0 in the first half, and then I think they end up the Seattle ended up getting a touchdown late in the second and then in the second quarter, and I think it was 17-7 at halftime, and then Seattle came on in the second half behind Geno Smith, and they was able to rally. And but it's the latter part of that rally that kind of what I want to talk about, because the Seahawks had cut it to 17-14, and here it was less than a minute left, and here they are driving to get a timed field goal. Okay, and they had no timeouts left. And this is something, and it had Mike Tomlin mad or whatever. So anyway, Seattle is driving, and they get inside the like 30-yard line. So it's like 12 seconds left. I'll get it right in a minute. It's like 12 seconds left. And so Geno Smith hits DK Metcalf on the left sideline, and for about probably like a 10-yard completion. He's down to like inside the 30. I want to say like the 24, 25-yard line. But instead of going out of bounds, he's trying to go down the field and get more yardage. Now, they don't have no timeouts. It's like 8 seconds left in the game. They got no timeouts. All right. So he's trying to get more yards, but then in his process of going back inside, trying to get yardage instead of stepping out of bounds, he gets the ball stripped. And luckily, Tyler Lockett was Johnny on the spot and picked it up and ran it to the official, but time was running out. It was like 8-9 seconds on the clock when he caught it, and so he should have stepped out of bounds and gave them the time to get their field goal unit out. I mean, I just be wondering sometimes what be running through these players' mind. As a Cowboy fan, I remember back in 2016. Was Dak's first game starting as quarterback. They were playing in the Meadowlands. Well, actually, they were playing in Texas in AT&T Stadium. I'm sorry, but that was his first game playing the New York Giants, and they lost that game, I think 20-19, if I'm not mistaken. But the Cowboys were driving in that game, and they had gotten the ball, I think, like first down on the Giants, like 41, 42-yard line, and Dak threw a little 7-8 yard pass to Terrence Williams. He's no longer in the league now, but he was one of our receivers starting opposite of Dez Bryant. And he threw it to him on the sideline, but then he cut back inside trying to get additional yards, and the clock ran out. I mean, because he was at the 40, maybe the 30, 39, 40-yard line, and he could have got out of bounds, 55, 56-yard field goal. But we had Dan Bailey at the time. Dan Bailey was on the same level at that time as Justin Tucker. You know, he could kick a 55, 56-yard field goal and wouldn't miss. You could just bank on it. But sometimes these players go brain dead, just like Metcalf here. He went brain dead and cut back inside and got stripped. He lost the football. And luckily, Tyler Lockett picked it up, because if that had rolled around, that clock's going to be still moving. That clock's not going to stop moving once the ball is rolling around on the ground. And luckily, Tyler Lockett picked it up. But what got Mike Tomlin upset was the referees wanted to stop the clock to see if that was a catch and a fumble. And I'm sitting there like, that was clearly a catch. He caught the ball, did a little hesitation move, and cut back inside him, and was trying to go down the field. And the dude reached right inside his, in the crook of his arm, poked the ball out. It was obvious because he did a little, because basically they say you catch it, get 2 feet down, and make some sort of football move, and that constitutes a possession. And it was obvious that he had caught it. Okay, it was obvious, and but they stopped it, and that allowed Seattle to regroup, because they was going to catch hell trying to get lined up, get everybody onside, and line everybody up, and not, because you got to be set for a second before you can snap it and spike the football. You got to be set for a second. So you got to be, remember, it was 8 seconds when he fumbled the football. And then, it took a couple of seconds for Tyler Lockett to pick it up and run it to the referee, and then get lined up on the end of the line of scrimmage. So by the time they got lined up, it was like 3 seconds. You really got to have 2 to do it, because you got to be set for one. And then the referee stopped the clock, and Mike Tomlin was livid because they stopped it. And when further review is determined that the receiver caught the ball and fumbled it and is recovered by the receiving team. And I'm like, no, Sherlock, who didn't know that? Now, in that foolishness, you've allowed them to get and then they gave them an additional second to kick the field goal, give them 3 seconds. So it's always determined it was 3 seconds when the referee stopped the clock. And I'm like, that's bull crap. Because it was between 2 seconds and 1 second. So Mike Tomlin was livid, and he said so at the press conference. But anyway, the Steelers ended up prevailing in overtime. And the only reason I mentioned that game, in addition to that thing, is, because the referee kind of had a bad week this week, because they had their thing, I guess, with the Cowboys calling 12 penalties and whatnot. And I saw some other things this week, the offsides against Green Bay with Chicago that they didn't call, and it allowed Justin Fields to throw an interception, which he thought he had a free play. There was no flag forthcoming. The refs just had a bad week this week. But anyhow, the reason I brought that game up too, because that boy T.J. Watt, 7 tackles, 2 sacks, forced fumble. Dude, T.J. Watt had Geno Smith. Geno Smith gonna be waking up in the middle of the night. Oh my God, was that T.J.? He had T.J. Watt. I mean, he had Geno Smith flinching every time, because he was in that dude's grill, man. T.J. Watt's a bad dude. In my opinion, that's the best defensive player in the game right now, because there was a couple of plays in there. They had 3 guys blocking him, and you just can't block that dude when he get his mind made up. You can't block him. T.J. Watt's a bad boy, man. I would give him Defensive Player of the Year right now, even over my boy Diggs, because he plays good fundamental football. It ain't just fumbles. It ain't just sacks. He plays the run good. He plays, that sort of thing. Diggs got to do some other things better, but don't get me wrong, I love me some Diggs, but I got to be objective. T.J. Watt's a bad boy, man. 7 tackles, 2 sacks, forced fumble, and that forced fumble came in overtime, and Geno Smith didn't see nobody open. He started running, and not only did he get the sack, but he knocked that football out and recovered it. So T.J. Watt's a bad boy, but Steelers win that game. I think they won it 17 to 14. I mean, 20 to 17. Excuse me, and they moved to 3-3. So anyhow, that's enough on that one. And moving on to the final game that we're going to really spend some time on, that's Buffalo at Tennessee. And the only thing to talk about is that one is that, I picked Buffalo. Buffalo's probably playing the best football in the league this year up to that game. And I thought that the only way Tennessee could beat them is if Derrick Henry just goes nuclear. And he didn't really go nuclear, but the play that he did make, caused them to, change the complexion of the game. Buffalo had scored first. They were up 6-0. And actually, Tennessee was kind of sleepwalking. I mean, Derrick Henry had like about 12 yards rushing on like 4 carries or something like that. But then right in the second quarter, they're at their own like 24-yard line. They just lined it up and they hand it to him. He breaks through the thing. He breaks through the line. And then once he got in the secondary, it was like, that nobody want to mess with that dude. And they clocked him at 21.8 miles per hour on that run. Now, I want y'all to know something. And no, Derrick Henry, roll tide. You do know Derrick Henry is like 6'3" and like 252 pounds, right? Okay. And was clocked at 21.8 miles per hour on that run. And when he breaks the line, you see him running away from safeties. Okay. They're here and he's just pulling away from them. That dude is 252 pounds. Amazing, man. That's man. That dude has like 750 yards right now. 700, and because he ended up this game with aside from that particular play, they bottled him up pretty good. Aside from that play, they kind of bottled him up. He ended up with 20 carries for 143 yards. So if you take that 76-yard touchdown off it, he would have like 70 yards on 19 carries. That's not terrible. It's like 3.5 yards a carry, but and I think he's got a good chance of becoming being the MVP, especially if he has back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. I mean, nobody's had back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons in the history of the NFL, and this isn't even a running league right now. It's a passing league. He's a throwback, the bell cow running back, the only guy that gets carries on the team, like back in the day, like Dorsett, like Emmitt Smith, like Barry Sanders, and those guys, the only guys running the football. And so that's a throwback. Now they run with the dual sets and the multiple backs and the running back by committee and that sort of thing, keeps all the backs fresh. But he gets all the carries, and 20 carries is really not a lot of carries for him. So that's him to get 143 yards. That's not bad. That's like isn't it like 7 yards a carry, something like that, But anyhow. But the play of the game came late in the game. Tennessee had forged ahead 34-31. Buffalo had the ball 4th down, and Sean McDermott, they had the field goal in view because they're at the 1-yard line. They could have just kicked the field goal. Clock was running down, and they went with Josh Allen is a big boy too. He's like 6'5", 6'6", and about 245. And so Sean McDermott rolled the dice with his quarterback, and so they lined up inside the 1, and they said we're gonna go for the win instead of the tie because the field goal will be closer than an old school extra point, and it would have been tied up. They went to overtime. But I think a lot of people had seen that as the game waned on, them guys that really didn't want to tackle Derrick Henry, he would end up with 200 yards. By the end of that game, because by the end of the game, you're not as fresh. You're not wanting to tackle this big old boy. So they said, let's get this game out the way. So they ran a quarterback sneak, and they snapped it, and 2 things happened. Josh Allen lost his footing, and the left tackle, I think his name is Dawkins, got blowed up by my man Simmons. He got completely blowed up, and the guy cut across his face and pushes him into Josh Allen, where even if Josh Allen hadn't lost his footing, he wouldn't have had nowhere to run because the left tackle is supposed to seal that off, and he got to jump on him. And you see, sometimes when you're on the road, you get a late start on the snap of the football because the crowd noise is so high. So you're a half a beat slow, and Simmons was right on, was anticipated the snap of the football and got inside of him before he could make his move, and he ended up pushing him back into Josh Allen, and Josh Allen got stuffed at the line of scrimmage, and the game and the time ran out. Titans win 34-31, and I missed that one, but that's one, that I'm really not upset that I missed, because I told you I kind of low-key pulled for the Titans. So anyway, there's that game, and Titans win. They moved to 4-2. Buffalo loses. They moved to 4-2 as well. So, and then the last game, we're not going to spend any time on it, but I thought it was noteworthy to mention it. Miami at Jacksonville at London. And just like I told you, Jacksonville gets their first win. The return of Tua, he had 347 yards, 33 of 47 for 3, I think 47. I think he had 2 touchdowns. But the Jacksonville Jaguars win it, but there was a boneheaded play by Coach Brian Flores. There's like a minute and some change left in the game. The Dolphins have the ball 4th down and at their own like 48-yard line. And instead of punting or whatever, they decide to run it with Malcolm Brown, and he gets stuffed. And so really that gives Jacksonville, on the Miami Dolphins 48-yard line. So basically they just ran like a couple of plays, because the dude kicked like a 53-yard field goal. So they didn't move it but like 8 yards. And then they kick the field goal and they win it. So Jacksonville gets their first win, in the Lawrence era, in the first Trevor Lawrence era, and the first win of the Urban Meyer era. So hats off to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Your boy called it though. I said Jacksonville gets their first win. So anyway, that's all we got on that. So proves to be a great week in the NFL, and like I said, NFL always gives you something that you never expected to see, and every game is always an adventure. So week 7, let's just go into our week 7 predictions, and let's just see what we got. And I think, let's see how many games we got. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, it's only 13. Okay. Okay. 26. Okay. I guess that's right. I guess that's right. Oh, I thought it would be 14 though. 13. Okay. I counted 3 times, it's still 13. But anyway, all right, let's go and get these pick'ems in, and then we'll check back with you and on Monday night, and we'll see how we did. Okay, let's start off with game 1, which is tomorrow night. It's going to be Denver at Cleveland, and we know the scenario surrounding this game. Not going to spend a lot of time on it, but we do know that Denver coming off a 3-game losing streak, and the Sharks are circling with Vic Fangio. Teddy Bridgewater did not play well this past game against the Raiders, threw 3 interceptions and a fumble, had 4 turnovers, which is very uncharacteristic of Teddy Bridgewater. And then we know Cleveland is just beset with injuries. So you got Baker Mayfield, who's out. You got Kareem Hunt, who's out with a calf. You got Nick Chubb, who's out with a calf. I'm not even sure who the starting running back is going to be in this game. I'll be honest with you. I don't know who that would be. And I do know that Jarvis Landry might be back. He was on injury reserve early. And we know they have Odell Beckham Jr. And then, they got Njoku. And that's Austin Hooper. I think so really that's what they got. And they're starting Case Keenum as quarterback. Now the caveat to this is Case Keenum has ran Stefanski's system before when he was the quarterbacks coach at Minnesota. So he may even have more success with him than he has with Baker Mayfield. So this offense is really tailor-made for Case Keenum. Case Keenum took the Minnesota Vikings to a 13-3 record back in 2017. Okay, so we got that going. I got Denver, man. I really didn't circle this game at first because I really wasn't sure because Cleveland's got the injuries. But I said Case Keenum is probably going to be very efficient, but he really don't have no weapons to throw it to. So I'm going with Denver on the road, winning this game at Cleveland. I think the team plays well for Vic Fangio. Man, Denver's just a good team. They have good personnel. Teddy Bridgewater, Tim Patrick, and you got Noah Fant at tight end. PJ Hamler. You got good personnel there. So I got Denver winning that game. So we'll see how it goes. All the experts got the Browns, but I don't think they knew all the injuries that the Browns are stuck with. So I got Denver in that game. Okay, game number 2, Cincinnati at Baltimore. While I am impressed with what Cincinnati is 4-2, buddy. They are 4-2. They are not your grandparents, Cincinnati Bengals. And Jamar Chase, I think is leading the league or second in the league in yards per catch. I think he's averaging like 20 some odd yards per catch, 22 yards a catch, or something like that. And Joe Burrow just steady defense, with Jim Bates and they're stopping people, and Cincinnati is a good thing, but they're going up against Baltimore and Lamar's doing what he's doing, and then he's got Rashad Bateman now, and go with Hollywood Brown and and Mark Andrews, and then he can. I got Baltimore, man. I think it's going to be a tough game though, because that's an intra-divisional game. They know each other well. They play each other twice every year. But I got Baltimore. I got Baltimore winning that game, probably by a field goal or a touchdown late. But I think Lamar has a great game, and I think Bateman and Brown probably have touchdown catches in this game. So that's where I'm gonna go. So I'm going with Baltimore. Next, we got the Washington football team at the Green Bay Packers, and I really don't have much to say about this one. Aaron Rodgers, after that first stinker he threw in game 1 against New Orleans, he's put together 3 or 4 good games. Really didn't have a great game against the Bears last week, but it was good enough. And then he scored late in the game, did the discount double check, and then he screamed he owned them to the Chicago Bears fans. Whatever, man. What do what you got to do, Aaron. I ain't seen a discount double check in about 4 years, but okay. He got to do that against the Bears. But anyway, I'm stop bemoaning Aaron Rodgers. He's still a bad boy, but sometimes he do stuff to be griping my nerves. I'm sorry. But anyway, I got Green Bay because I think the Packers are just too good. They're hitting their stride. Washington, their defense is really not doing what they say. I think they're giving up about 33 points a game after what they did last year. And that their defense is really that fabled front four, with Chase Young and Jonathan Allen and the boys, and they're really not doing anything. Sweat, they're not getting the job done, man. And Landon Collins on the back end, and they're just not getting it done, So I'm going with the Green Bay Packers in that game. Okay, Atlanta Falcons at the Miami Dolphins. Both teams got 1 win. Falcons got 2 wins. They beat the Jets in London, and they beat New York. They've beaten both New York teams, the New York Football Jets and the New York Football Giants. Okay, so yeah, they got 2 wins against the New York teams. Great. But I got Miami because I think Miami's finding their stride. I think I know they didn't play well this past week. They got Jacksonville a first win, but they got Tua back, and I look for Tua and to do his thing and to play well. Him and Jalen Waddle have a nice connection, and I look for the Dolphins to win that game. I got the Dolphins. I don't know what they're doing in Atlanta. I really don't. I'm really not feeling them right now. So I'm that's the only doubt I will give you on that. I got the Dolphins. Okay. New York Jets at the New England Patriots. Going to be a blase game. You got two pretty much inept offenses, but Mac Jones is a much better quarterback, much more efficient quarterback. I think he's found something with Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne, and Damian Harris is starting to run pretty decent. They scored 29 points against the Cowboys last week, and I think they'll continue to do well. And they're playing in Foxborough. And New England can't go 0-5 at home, can they? Nah, I don't see it. I got New England winning that one, and I got Zach Wilson seeing ghosts. So I got New England winning that one. Okay. All right, moving on. We just whizzing through these. All right, next we got the Carolina Panthers at the New York Giants. Carolina Panthers lost a tough one last week in overtime to the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold was ASS early. He was garbage early. Maybe I should say that. You know, I'm not trying to get in trouble with the FCC here, but he was garbage. I think he ended up being like 17 for like 42 or something like that, like 200 yards and a touchdown. But he came on late and hit 2 fourth down passes late. One to DJ Moore on the side. And hit a dude named Ian Smith, I think that's what his name is, on a 4th down with like a 25, 30 yard between 2 defenders. So he got moxie now. I'll give him that. He got some cojones. So he tied the game up because really Minnesota was running away with that. And they tied the game up at 28-28 and went to overtime. And my man KJ Osborne wins it with a touchdown pass from Cousins, and they lost that one. That was a tough loss. So now they're 3-3. They've lost 3 in a row. But New York Giants is just like chicken soup. So if you're sick, they'll make you feel well. So New York Giants got problems. They got injuries. I think Carolina, will start to get some guys back. Now I kind of had thought that they would get C-Mac back. They haven't won a game since C-Mac went down after they beat, I think, the Houston Texans on Thursday night. He went down. He hadn't played since then. They've lost all 3 games since then. Lost to the Cowboys, the Eagles, and to the Minnesota Vikings. But I think they get their things right because they're playing the Giants. And I think the Giants are just the kind of team you need to play when you're not playing well to get you back on the right foot. So I got Carolina winning that one. Okay. Probably close. Probably like 19-15 or something like that. 19-14. I don't look for it to be a lot of points scored in that game because both offenses are still kind of struggling. Okay. Next, I didn't even mark this one because I'm still trying to figure out which one I'm going with this. And I got Kansas City at the Tennessee Titans. I very seldom pick against Pat. They're playing at Tennessee. Kansas City has proven that they can't stop the run. I think Derrick Henry runs for 200 yards on them. As much as against my better judgment, I'm gonna go with the Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna go with the Tennessee Titans. Can't believe I'm picking against Kansas City Chiefs. Very seldom pick against Patrick Mahomes. But Tennessee, when Tennessee's offense, when they running game is rolling, man, they're hard to beat, man. I'm gonna take Tennessee, man. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I got Tennessee. I got Tennessee winning. I got Derrick Henry at least 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay, they're gonna have a hard time stopping that man. I'm sorry. Then we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Las Vegas Raiders. And a week ago, I'd have picked Philly for this game, but I know they got some turmoil going. They just traded Zach Ertz, and they still trying to find their offense and things. I still believe in Jalen Hurts. I still believe in Devontae Smith and that sort of thing. I still believe in them, but I think the Raiders, they're playing at Las Vegas. I hadn't picked that one either because I was kind of on the fence on that one. I like Philadelphia, but I'm gonna go with the Raiders on that one because I think the Raiders maybe can get back to football, and if they play like they played last week against the Broncos, they'll beat Philadelphia. So I got the Raiders winning that one. Then we got the Detroit Lions at the Los Angeles Rams. That's the swapping of the quarterbacks, the reprisal of Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford, they both, meet each other. And they're playing at Rams. I got Los Angeles. That's going to be a 35-14 game right there. So I got the Rams. Moving on, got Houston at Arizona. Again, Houston's played good in some games, and they've gotten out. They almost beat New England. They played strong against Carolina. They played strong against a couple teams. Played strong against Cleveland early. But they've had some stinkers in there too, 40-0 to Buffalo, and I think they lost. Was it the Rams that beat them? Not the Rams. Who was it that beat them? 30. It was just past week. It was Indianapolis, 31-3. So they've had some stinkers in there too. And I'll add this one to the stinkers. I got Arizona 6-0, and they're hitting on all their strides. They guys, and Kyler Murray's just doing what he's doing. He's making his MVP bid. So yeah, I got the Cardinals, man. I don't think it's going to be even close. So I got the Cardinals winning there. Next, we got the Chicago Bears at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chicago starting Justin Fields, going against that Tampa offense. Really, most of these games really can't be stopped. I know the Bears got a pretty nice defense, and they kind of gave Tampa Bay trouble last year, but they got more weapons this year, and Tom Brady's just in a zone right now. Like he got like 17 touchdowns, like 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions, something like that. Going for like 2,000 yards already, like 5 games. Yeah, and I got Tampa Bay, man. I don't think that's going to be close either, and I just don't think Chicago can score enough points to stay with them. Okay. Then we got the Indianapolis Colts at the San Francisco 49ers. And really the San Francisco 49ers, they're at a crossroads because you got my man Trey Lance starting. He really, I don't think he's really got command of that Kyle Shanahan offense yet. I really don't like Indianapolis, but I think their offense is starting to click. So I'm going to go with Indianapolis to win that one on the road. Beating San Francisco on Sunday Night Football. That's going to be the Sunday night game on NBC. All right. And then we got New Orleans on Monday night. We got New Orleans at Seattle. And then you got Seattle going with Geno Smith. Now, I have heard that they're trying to have a cup of coffee with Cam Newton. They probably should add a sweet roll to that because they probably should go on and get him. He's got vaccinated. He put himself in. He's throwing his hat in the ring. Anybody don't have him. And I think he gives them a better chance to win because he can run it and throw it. If he's half as good as he used to be, he could do that. But New Orleans, I think New Orleans is starting to play some good ball. Really, some two teams kind of still trying to find what they're doing, kind of sort of injuries and things of that nature. And Jameis, he's not throwing for a lot of yards, but he's thrown a ton of touchdowns. Like he's got about 12, 13 touchdowns, and hadn't thrown for more than 200 yards in any game, I don't think. But anyhow, I got New Orleans winning that one. I think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be a good game either. I think it's going to be a low-scoring kind of a, game. That's kind of one they probably wish they hadn't put on Monday night. But anyway, that's the one. So, but anyway, those are our picks, and we'll see how they go. I think, let me count these again because like I said, I don't know how they got 13 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, that's 13 games. So I'm gonna hope to go 10-3. Where I'm trying to go. I'm trying to go 10-3, and so we'll meet back on Tuesday or Monday night and just see where we're at and see what we're gonna do. See how we did. See if your boy went 10-3 because I think I could go 10-3. Might go 13-0. You never know. But that's all we got for this week's edition of the Pick'ems, and we just combined really 2 videos into one. And maybe because I'm lazy, I didn't want to do 2 videos. That's when I did one, would get both things, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And did 95 last week with 14 games. So let's do 10-3 this week with 13 games, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's all I got. Y'all just keep listening, keep us. And you haven't subscribed, and you heard about us, and this Uncle Fred character, you've seen it on Facebook or something. I know we've shared that. Me and my wife has shared it on Facebook with some of my Facebook friends. If you want to see what it's all about, go ahead and like it and subscribe and leave some comments or suggestions and things and what we're going to, in direction of things we could cover. We just try to do anything, all things sports. So NFL, definitely our anchors of University of Alabama football team, Crimson Tide, and our anchors are the Dallas Cowboys. Those are our anchors, but we also do NFL, and we're going to get into some NBA and NCAA college football as it gets closer to the college football playoff or whatever. So anyway, that's all I got. We're going to look forward to a great week 7 in the NFL. It's going to be kind of, bittersweet because the Cowboys ain't playing. So I might do something else and just catch the scores. Nah, man, I'm watching. Who I'm playing with. I'm watching. I'm watching. But anyway, that's all I got. Uncle Fred signing off. Peace.